I used to believe that love and hard work could build anything. I was wrong. But I wasn't wrong about the work part, just about who I was building it for. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 28 years old and work as a civil engineer at Henry & Associates, a mid-sized construction firm where my colleagues respect me and the paycheck reflects it. I design foundations that support massive structures, buildings, bridges, infrastructure that holds up under pressure. I know how to create stability from chaos, or at least I thought I did. I met Rachel Thompson during our junior year at State University. She was studying communications while I buried myself in structural analysis and physics. We first connected during a late-night study session at the campus library. Her struggling with statistics, me offering to help. She had this way of laughing that made her eyes crinkle at the corners. I remember thinking how authentic that seemed. How genuine. You know, she told me that first night, tucking a strand of copper hair behind her ear. I've never understood numbers, but somehow you make them make sense. We built our relationship slowly, methodically. Weekend coffee dates became movie nights, became meeting each other's families. We talked about the future like it was a blueprint we were designing together. Stable careers, a home, maybe kids someday. I believed every word. 3 years ago, we got married in a small ceremony by the lake. Her parents were there, looking proud but slightly reserved. My older brother Kevin stood beside me as best man, along with a handful of close friends. The photographs show us beaming, her in a simple white dress that caught the sunlight, me in a dark blue suit I'd saved 2 months to afford. Our honeymoon in the Bahamas was everything we'd dreamt about. Turquoise waters lapping against white sand. Cocktails served in coconut shells as the sun melted into the horizon. Rachel posted dozens of photos online. Forever starts now. Found my forever home in his arms. The beginning of our greatest adventure. I believed those captions with every cell in my body. A year into our marriage. Rachel quit her administrative job at Parkside Dental. We discussed it for weeks, running the numbers, weighing options. My salary of $78,000 was enough to support us both comfortably. Not extravagant, but stable, secure. I want to focus on creating a real home, she said, her voice soft but determined. Something that feels like us, not just a place we sleep between work shifts. I love the idea. Coming home to freshly prepared meals instead of takeout containers. Walking into rooms that smelled like her. Vanilla candles and that lavender lotion she always used. A wife who wasn't exhausted from her own workday. Who greeted me at the door with genuine enthusiasm rather than shared fatigue. We bought a 3-bedroom suburban house with a white picket fence and a 2-car garage. Cliché maybe, but it represented everything we'd worked for. The neighborhood was quiet, established. The kind of place where people plant gardens and raise children. We hadn't started our family yet, but we'd talked about it. Maybe next year, maybe when I got the promotion I was tracking toward. Friday nights became sacred. I'd stop at the corner flower shop on my way home, pick up whatever was in season. We'd order takeout, open a bottle of wine, stream whatever movie we'd been meaning to watch. Rachel's head on my shoulder, her fingers intertwined with mine. Simple. Perfect. This is everything I've ever wanted, I told her one night, 4 months ago. As we sat on the back porch watching fireflies appear in the gathering dusk. Me too, she whispered back, squeezing my hand. I can't imagine being anywhere else with anyone else. I thought we were building something permanent. I thought I knew her. I thought I was safe. 2 months ago, our neighbor's house was broken into while they were at work. Ransacked, valuables stolen, drawers emptied onto floors. The whole street was shaken. Mrs. Alvarez from across the street installed a security system the next day. The Johnsons got a dog. Rachel started double-checking the locks before bed, jumping at small noises after dark. What if they come back? She asked me one night, her voice small. What if next time it's our house? The fear in her eyes made my decision immediate. I would install security cameras, top of the line, monitored, recording everything. I wanted to protect her. I wanted her to feel safe while I was at work. I wanted to shield her from harm. Turns out, I needed to protect myself. I called my friend Cole that night while Rachel was in the shower. He owns a small security company, specializes in residential systems. Can you install cameras at my place? I asked him. Soon as possible? I can come Thursday, he responded. When would be best? Rachel will be visiting her parents in Columbus that day, I explained. I want it to be a surprise, to make her feel safe. I installed those cameras to keep her safe. I had no idea they'd be the only reason I'm not in prison right now. Thursday arrived, and Rachel left early for Columbus to visit her parents. A 2-hour drive she made reluctantly, complaining about her mother's criticisms and her father's silence. I'll be back tonight, she said, kissing me quickly before heading out the door. Don't wait up. Mom always keeps me late with her endless questions. Perfect. The window I needed. Cole Bennett arrived at 2 p.m., his company van loaded with equipment. We've been friends since high school. He was always the tech guy, the one who could build computers from scraps and hack the school's grading system. Now he runs Bennett Security Solutions, a one-man operation with a growing reputation for quality work. You're doing the right thing, Cole said as he unloaded boxes. Break-ins are up 30% in the county. Better safe than sorry. I helped where I could, mostly by staying out of his way and providing occasional coffee. Cole worked efficiently, installing 8 cameras strategically throughout the house and property. One above the front door, angled to capture the porch and driveway. Another at the back door, overlooking the patio and yard. 2 exterior cameras covering the side yard and garage. Inside, he mounted cameras in the living room, kitchen, upstairs hallway, and home office. They're motion-activated, Cole explained, showing me the app on my phone. Cloud storage automatically saves footage for 30 days. You can access it remotely, set alerts, the works. I nodded, grateful for the peace of mind this would bring Rachel. What about power outages? Or if the internet goes down? I asked. Cole reached into his bag and handed me a small black device, roughly the size of a paperback book. Backup recorder. It has its own power supply and records locally. Footage saves to the cloud, but this is your physical backup. Keep it somewhere safe, closet, drawer, whatever. Just don't lose it, he instructed. I took it, turning it over in my hands. Thanks, man. Seriously, I said, genuinely grateful. No problem. Just don't tell anyone I gave you the friend discount, he grinned. Bad for business. After he left, I tucked the backup recorder into my bedroom closet. Behind a cardboard box filled with old college textbooks and engineering manuals, Newton's laws of motion pressed against concrete stress analysis. Hidden but accessible if needed. I meant to tell Rachel about the cameras that night. Had a whole speech prepared about security and peace of mind, but when she finally walked through the door at 10 p.m., something was off. Her face was drawn, shoulders tense. When I hugged her, she felt rigid against me. You okay? I asked, concerned. Fine, she snapped, then immediately softened. Sorry, Mom was difficult. The whole visit was draining. Want to talk about it? I offered. No, she said, rubbing her temples. I just want a hot bath and sleep. I held her, told her to rest, promised things would look better in the morning. The cameras could wait. They were invisible anyway. Cole had done an expert job hiding them in crown molding, behind air vents, integrated into existing fixtures. Rachel wouldn't notice unless she was specifically looking. Days passed. The cameras became background, silent sentinels recording our domestic routine. I checked the app once or twice to ensure they worked, then largely forgot about them. Life continued normally, or what I thought was normal. Rachel seemed the same, affectionate most mornings, kissing me goodbye as I left for work. She'd text during my lunch break, little things, grocery questions, funny observations. Dinner would be waiting when I came home. On weekends, we'd tackle house projects or meet friends for dinner. There were no red flags, no sudden coldness, no unexplained absences or suspicious behavior. That's what made it so perfect. She didn't change. She didn't slip up. She played the role flawlessly. 3 weeks after the installation, I came home on a Tuesday evening. The site inspection downtown had run long, a support beam showing concerning stress patterns that required additional analysis. I was tired, my mind still tangled in calculations and safety margins. The routine was automatic, keys on the counter, calling out, "I'm home!" as I headed upstairs for a shower. The bathroom was steamy from Rachel's recent use. Her wet towel hung on the rack, her floral shampoo permeating the air. The hot water felt like salvation, washing away dust and exhaustion. I closed my eyes, let the pressure beat against my shoulders, worked shampoo through my hair methodically. Somewhere in the background, muffled by water and bathroom walls, I heard the doorbell. Probably a package delivery or neighbor. Rachel would handle it. I rinsed off, toweled dry, pulled on jeans and a fresh t-shirt. My hair was still damp when I walked downstairs. And my life ended. 2 police officers stood in my living room. Officer Brian Hayes, mid-30s, muscular, with the confident stance of authority. And Officer Kim Torres, late 20s, stern-faced and watchful. Rachel sat on the couch, sobbing, mascara streaking down her cheeks, tissue crushed in her trembling hands. Confusion hit me like a physical blow. "What's going on?" I asked, looking from one face to another. Officer Hayes turned to me, hand resting casually on his holster. "Daniel Carter?" he questioned. "Yeah?" I replied. "We received a 911 call reporting domestic abuse at this address," he stated firmly. I blinked, trying to process the words. They made no sense, like someone speaking a language I'd studied but forgotten. Domestic. What? I looked from the officers to Rachel, whose crying intensified when our eyes met. "There's been a mistake. I didn't know it yet, but while I was washing my hair, my wife was destroying my life." "There's been a mistake," I repeated, my voice steadier than I felt. "I just got home. I took a shower." Rachel's voice cut through the room, high-pitched and terrified. "Danny, please, just stop." She lurched toward the officers, one hand clutching her chest like she was physically holding herself together. "He came home angry. He shoved me against the counter. I tried to calm him down, but he wouldn't listen." She sobbed, her words tumbling out in a rush. My mind reeled, unable to process her words. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be real. "Rachel, what the hell are you talking about?" "I didn't touch you," I protested, taking a step forward. "Stay back, sir." Officer Torres stepped between us, her hand moving to her belt in warning. The message was clear: don't move closer. Rachel sobbed harder, her body shaking with apparent fear. Then, with trembling fingers, she pulled down the collar of her shirt to reveal angry red marks across her collarbone, fresh, vivid against her pale skin. "Look," she cried, voice breaking. "Look what he did." I stared, horrified and bewildered. Those marks hadn't been there when I walked in. They couldn't have been. I hadn't touched her. I didn't— "Rachel, why are you doing this?" I demanded, my voice cracking with confusion. Officer Hayes moved toward me with practiced efficiency. "Sir, turn around and place your hands behind your back," he ordered. "This is insane." "I didn't do anything," I protested, panic rising in my chest, primal and overwhelming. This wasn't happening. Couldn't be happening. "Turn around. Now," he commanded. His voice left no room for negotiation. I had no choice. I turned slowly, feeling exposed and vulnerable with my back to them. Cold metal handcuffs snapped around my wrists with mechanical finality. Each click felt like a nail in a coffin. Officer Hayes recited my Miranda rights in a monotone, words I'd heard in countless TV shows but never imagined would be directed at me. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." I twisted my neck to look back at Rachel. She sat on the couch, tissues pressed to her face, shoulders heaving with apparent sobs. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Rachel," I said, my voice suddenly calm despite the hurricane inside me. "Look at me." She didn't. "Why are you doing this?" I asked quietly. No response. Officer Torres took my arm. "Let's go, Mr. Carter," she directed. They led me through my own front door, down the walkway I'd repaired last summer, past the mailbox Rachel had painted blue to add character. The neighbors were watching, Mrs. Alvarez from across the street, hand over her mouth. The Johnsons whispering to each other on their porch. Teenagers on bikes stopping to stare. The patrol car waited at the curb like a predator. The officers guided me into the back seat, the door closing with a hollow thud that echoed in my chest. Through the window, I watched my house, our house, grow smaller as we pulled away. 3 years of marriage, 5 years together, a lifetime of trust, all vaporizing in minutes. The ride to the police station blurred into a nightmare sequence. I sat in the back seat, wrists aching from the handcuffs, mind racing through possibilities. Was Rachel having some kind of breakdown? Had I somehow heard her without realizing? Was this a terrible misunderstanding? But those marks, those deliberate fresh marks, the calculated tears, the performance. At the station, I was processed like cargo, fingerprints pressed into ink, mugshot taken, turn left, turn right, look forward, paperwork filled out in triplicate. Officer Hayes handed me off to a desk sergeant, who looked at me with the same detached assessment he probably gave every domestic abuser who came through his doors. I was allowed one phone call. I dialed Kevin's number from memory, praying he would answer. "Hey, what's up?" His voice was casual, normal, from a world that still made sense. "Kevin, I need help," I said, my voice cracking. Rachel called the cops. "She said I hurt her. I'm in jail." Silence for 3 heartbeats. Then, with knife-sharp focus, "Did you touch her?" he asked. "No. I swear to God, no. I just got home, took a shower, came downstairs, and the cops were already there," I explained, desperate for him to believe me. "I'm coming. Don't say anything to anyone." "Not a word, Danny. I mean it," he instructed. Firmly. The line went dead. They put me in a holding cell with 2 other men, a drunk driver sleeping it off in the corner, and a guy arrested for shoplifting, who wouldn't stop talking about how the security cameras at Target were rigged against people like him. The fluorescent. Lights buzzed overhead, unnaturally bright, making sleep impossible even if my mind would allow it. I sat on the hard bench and tried to understand what had happened. Every scenario I constructed collapsed under scrutiny. Rachel and I hadn't been fighting. I hadn't been drinking. We hadn't argued about money or family or any of the usual pressure points in a marriage. Everything had been normal, except it hadn't been normal at all. It had been a lie. I just couldn't see the shape of it yet. I replayed the scene over and over, Rachel's tears, the red marks, the certainty in the officer's eyes. I'd been convicted before I walked downstairs. The script had already been written. I just hadn't received my copy. Morning came with harsh clarity. Kevin arrived shortly after 9, posting bail with efficiency born of his corporate law experience. He looked immaculate in his charcoal suit, not a thread out of place, while I emerged from holding in yesterday's clothes, unshaven, shell-shocked. In Kevin's sleek Audi, I explained everything I knew, which was nothing, really. Just confusion and betrayal wrapped in procedural humiliation. Kevin listened, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the road. His silence was a measured thing, evidence being weighed behind a practiced facade. "I believe you," he finally said, and those 3 words nearly broke me. "But we've got a problem." "What?" I asked, bracing myself. "Rachel filed a restraining order this morning. You're not allowed within 500 feet of the house. She also filed for divorce," he informed me grimly. The words hit like separate blows. Restraining order. Not allowed home, divorce, each one a fracture in the foundation of my life. What? I repeated, unable to process the enormity of it. Her lawyers claiming ongoing abuse, emotional trauma, fear for her safety. With that restraining order, she's in the house, you're out, and she's positioning herself to take everything in the divorce. House, savings, alimony, Kevin explained, his voice tight with controlled anger. I stared out the window at suburban streets that suddenly seemed alien. Nauseous reality washed over me in waves. "This can't be happening," I whispered. Kevin's voice was cold, professional. "It is, and unless we find proof you didn't touch her, you're screwed. Do you have anything? Witnesses? Texts?" My mind raced through possibilities, searching for salvation. Then it hit me like a lightning bolt of clarity. "The cameras," I said suddenly. Kevin turned, eyebrow raised. "What cameras?" he asked. "I installed security cameras 3 weeks ago. I forgot to tell Rachel. They record everything," I explained, hope rising. Kevin's expression shifted. Hope, calculation, the first hint of a smile. "Every room?" he questioned. "Living room, kitchen, hallways." "Outside," I confirmed. "And where's the footage?" He pressed. Hope surged through me, desperate and fierce. "Cloud storage. And a backup device in my closet." Kevin nodded, his lawyer mind already building a defense. "We need that footage now." The knot in my stomach tightened as Kevin parked a block away from my house, our house, keeping a careful distance because of the restraining order. "I can't go in there," I said. frustration burning in my chest. "If Rachel sees me—" "She won't," Kevin interrupted, his voice calm, methodical. "Because she's not there." "How do you know?" I questioned. "I had my assistant call her. Pretended to be from a spa offering a free massage and facial, a special for new clients." Rachel took the bait. "She has an appointment at Serenity Spa downtown. We have 90 minutes tops," he explained with a slight smile. I stared at my brother with newfound respect. "That's brilliant and slightly terrifying." Kevin shrugged. "When you practice corporate law, you learn how people operate. Now, where exactly is this backup device?" "Master bedroom closet, behind a cardboard box of college textbooks." "But I still can't go in," I started. "I'll go," Kevin interrupted, checking his watch. "You stay here. If you see Rachel coming back, text me immediately." I handed him my house key, watched him walk purposefully toward the place I was no longer allowed to enter. My home. The feeling was surreal, like watching someone enter a life I'd been exiled from, a reality that continued without me. Kevin disappeared inside. Minutes stretched painfully. I sat in his car, ducking down whenever a vehicle passed, feeling like a criminal in my own neighborhood. 23 minutes later, Kevin emerged, his expression grim. He slid into the driver's seat, hands empty. "It's gone," he said flatly. "What do you mean, gone?" I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. "The backup device. It's not there. The box of textbooks is there, but nothing behind it," he reported. Cold realization spread through me. "She found it." "Apparently," he agreed. "But the cloud storage," I suggested hopefully. "We'll try that next." Kevin started the car. "But if she found the device, she probably knows about the cloud storage too." We drove to Kevin's downtown apartment, a sleek high-rise with views of the city skyline. His home office was immaculate. Glass desk, dual monitors, everything arranged. He gestured for me to sit, and I logged into the security app on his computer. Error message. "Account disabled." "She shut it down," I whispered, despair crushing my chest. The cameras, the account, everything. Kevin stood behind me, hands gripping the back of my chair. "When did you install these cameras?" 3 weeks ago. Thursday afternoon," I answered. "And who knew about them?" he continued. "Just me and Cole, my friend who installed them." The implications hit me. "You think Rachel knew? That she found them?" Kevin paced the room, lawyer mode, fully engaged. "Let's think this through. Rachel calls the police, claims you assaulted her. Shows marks that you didn't cause. Police arrive while you're in the shower. Perfect timing." "Too perfect." He stopped, facing me directly. "If she knew about the cameras, she would have disabled them before staging this whole thing. The fact that she disabled them after suggests she just found out about them. Which means there might still be footage of what really happened," I finished, hope flickering faintly. "Exactly." Kevin checked his watch. "Call Cole now." My fingers trembled as I dialed. Cole answered on the third ring. "Danny?" "Man, I heard what happened." "Are you okay?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. "Not really," I admitted. "Cole, I need your help. The security system you installed, does your company keep any backup of the footage?" "Not routinely, no." "It's all supposed to go to your cloud account and the physical backup?" he replied. My hope dimmed. "Both gone." "But—" Cole paused. "The system does send diagnostic reports to our company's server. Basic stuff. Power fluctuations, connectivity issues, camera status. Not footage, just data. How does that help us?" I asked, confused. "It doesn't directly, but—" I could hear him typing. "I can see when your system was accessed and modified. According to this, someone logged into your account yesterday at 9:17 a.m. from a device we don't recognize. Changed the password, then disabled the cloud storage at 9:23 a.m., he reported. Kevin leaned closer to the phone. "When was the backup device disconnected?" he asked, more typing. "The local storage unit went offline at 9:26 a.m. yesterday," Cole confirmed. "Yesterday morning," I repeated, mind racing. "Hours before I came home." "But here's the thing," Cole continued, voice quickening. "The system can't delete footage that's already been recorded. It can only stop new recordings. Whatever happened in your house before 9:26 a.m. yesterday should still exist on that backup device, if we can find it." Kevin's eyes met mine, determined. "We need to get that device back." How? I asked. I can't go near the house. Not legally? No. Kevin's expression hardened. But I can. And I'm going back in. Cole's voice crackled through the phone. Wait, there's something else you should know. He paused. I set up your system with an additional failsafe. It's something I do for all my installations just in case. What failsafe? I asked, desperate for any advantage. A secondary backup, completely separate from the main system. It's essentially a small camera inside the backup device itself. Records anyone who accesses or moves it. And it uploads to my company's server, not your cloud account, he explained. Kevin leaned forward. Are you saying you have footage of whoever took the backup device? He asked, excitement creeping into his voice. Let me check. The sound of typing filled the silence. Then, holy I've got it. Downloading now. I'll send it to your email, Danny. 5 minutes later, we watched the footage on Kevin's monitor. The image quality was poor, grainy, low resolution, but clear enough. Rachel entering our bedroom, opening the closet, moving directly to the box of textbooks, like she knew exactly what she was looking for. Retrieving the backup device, and then, the most damning moment. Rachel on her phone, speaking clearly enough for the microphone to capture, I found it. The cameras, the backup, everything. No, he doesn't know I know. Yes, we stick to the plan. This afternoon. Kevin froze the frame. Who was she talking to? He wondered aloud. I don't know, I said, staring at my wife's face. Cold, calculating, a stranger wearing familiar features. But we need to find out. And we need that backup device. The police won't help, Kevin said. Not without evidence. And this footage alone isn't enough to prove what happened yesterday. I straightened, determination replacing despair. Then we get the evidence ourselves. How? Kevin asked. I have an idea. I reached for my phone. But we'll need help from someone Rachel won't suspect. Margaret Sinclair's law office occupied the 17th floor of a downtown building, all gleaming surfaces and understated wealth. The receptionist led us to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Margaret rose from behind her desk as we entered. Tall, mid-50s, with silver-streaked black hair and the sharply tailored suit of someone who wins more than she loses. Kevin, she nodded to my brother. And you must be Daniel. Her handshake was firm, professional. No sympathy, no judgment, just assessment. I liked her immediately. Thank you for seeing us on such short notice, I said gratefully. Kevin and I go back a long way, she replied. She gestured toward the chairs across from her desk. He says you have a complicated situation. That's one way to put it, Kevin remarked dryly. Show her, Danny. I connected my phone to her computer monitor and played Cole's footage, Rachel finding the backup device, making the call, sticking to the plan. Margaret watched without comment, her expression unchanging. When it ended, she folded her hands on her desk. So your wife staged a domestic abuse claim against you, likely in conjunction with someone else, presumably to secure favorable divorce terms, she summarized, her voice clinical, precise. And you believe the evidence proving this is on a backup device she's hidden somewhere? Yes, I confirmed. Do you have any idea where she might have put it? Margaret asked. I shook my head. She could have destroyed it. Or given it to whoever she was working with. Margaret's eyes narrowed slightly. You said the incident occurred yesterday. The police were called while you were in the shower, correct? Yes, I came downstairs and they were already there, I explained. And one of the officers was named, she prompted. Hayes, I supplied. Officer Brian Hayes and a female officer, Torres. Margaret tapped her pen against her notepad. Hayes! Hayes! She turned to her computer, typed rapidly. Interesting. What? Kevin and I asked simultaneously. She turned the monitor toward us. A social media page showed a group photo from the police department's summer picnic. Officer Brian Hayes stood near the edge, smiling. And next to him, partially cropped but unmistakable, was Rachel. This is from 4 months ago, Margaret said. Before you installed the cameras, correct? My stomach dropped. Yes, I confirmed, the pieces falling into place. So it seems your wife and Officer Hayes have known each other for some time, she observed. The pieces clicked into terrible alignment. She's having an affair with him, I said, the words bitter in my mouth. It appears so, Margaret agreed. and potentially conspiring with him to frame you for domestic abuse. Kevin leaned forward. "This is good. We can use this," he said, the lawyer in him calculating. "Perhaps," Margaret cautioned, "but a photo proving they know each other isn't enough. We need that backup device with the footage of what actually happened yesterday." "I can't go near the house," I reminded them. "Restraining order." Margaret's smile was thin but determined. "You can't, but I can send someone who can." "Who?" I asked. "My investigator, Alicia Torres." "No relation to the officer, I assure you." "She's very good at finding things people don't want found," she explained. Kevin nodded. "How soon?" he asked. "Immediately." Margaret picked up her phone. "But we'll need a plan." The plan was simple but effective. Alicia would pose as a representative from a women's support organization, offering Rachel victim services and support during her difficult time. The pretense would get her into the house, where she'd search for the backup device. While Margaret coordinated with Alicia, Kevin pulled me aside. "This might not work," he warned quietly. "If Rachel destroyed the device—" "She didn't," I interrupted confidently. "She's too smart for that." "How can you be sure?" Kevin asked skeptically. "Because the evidence on that device doesn't just incriminate me, it exonerates her. If I'm convicted of domestic abuse, she gets everything in the divorce. But if I'm somehow proven innocent, she needs evidence to counter that, to maintain her story." "She'd keep it as insurance," I explained. Kevin considered this. "That actually makes sense," he conceded. "She wouldn't destroy it," I continued, "but she might give it to Hayes for safekeeping." "Then we'd be screwed," Kevin pointed out. "Not necessarily." I glanced at Margaret, still on the phone. "Let's see what Alicia finds first." 3 hours later, Margaret's office phone rang. She answered, listened intently, then hung up with a satisfied nod. "Alicia found it," she announced. Hope surged through me. "Where?" I asked eagerly. "Not in your house." Rachel took it to a storage facility on the north side of town. "Unit registered under her maiden name, Thompson," she explained. "How did Alicia track it there?" Kevin asked, impressed. Rachel wasn't home, but Alicia observed her leaving the house and followed her. Saw her accessing the storage unit. Waited until Rachel left, then persuaded the facility manager to cooperate, Margaret replied. "Persuaded?" Kevin raised an eyebrow. "Let's just say Alicia can be very convincing," Margaret said with a slight smile. She checked her watch. "She's bringing the device here now. Should arrive in 20 minutes. Those 20 minutes were the longest of my life." When Alicia finally walked in, a compact woman with watchful eyes and efficient movements, she placed a familiar black device on Margaret's desk. "This what you're looking for?" she asked. I nodded, afraid to hope. "Is it intact?" I asked cautiously. "Seems to be," Alicia confirmed. She turned to Margaret. The woman visited the storage unit, spent approximately 7 minutes inside, then left. She didn't appear to be carrying anything when she departed. "Thank you, Alicia," Margaret said, dismissing her with a nod. Once she left, we gathered around the device. I connected it to Margaret's computer, hands trembling slightly. The backup had a simple interface, dates, times, camera locations. "Yesterday," I said, navigating to the files. "Around 5 p.m., that's when I got home." We found the files, 8 camera feeds covering the entire house. I clicked on the kitchen feed first, and the video began to play. Rachel, alone in the kitchen, pacing, checking her watch. Then taking a wooden spoon from the drawer and... I flinched as she deliberately, methodically pressed the handle against her collarbone, applying pressure until red marks formed on her pale skin. She examined them in a compact mirror, adjusted, pressed harder, creating evidence. Then the phone call. "It's me. The scene is set. I'm calling 911 now. You come in 10 minutes, arrest him like we planned," she said into the phone. Officer Hayes's voice, tinny but distinct. "Are you sure about this, Rach? Once we do this, there's no going back," he warned. "I'm sure," Rachel replied, her voice suddenly harder than I'd ever heard it. "He deserves this." And we deserve to be together. We watched the entire sequence. Rachel's 911 call, her Oscar-worthy performance as she reported being assaulted. Me upstairs, oblivious in the shower. The police arriving, Hayes and Torres. Rachel briefing them quickly, pointing upstairs, coaching them on what to say, and then me, walking downstairs into the trap. When the footage ended, the room was silent. Kevin placed a hand on my shoulder. Margaret's expression was grim but satisfied. "This," she said firmly, "is exactly what we needed." Relief and rage warred within me.
"What now?"
I asked. "Now," Margaret said, ejecting the backup drive and placing it carefully in her desk drawer. "We prepare for court, and we make copies. Many, many copies." 3 weeks later, I sat in a courtroom trying to control my breathing. It was a preliminary hearing for the restraining order and the domestic abuse charges. If this went badly, I faced a criminal trial, potential jail time, and financial ruin. The courtroom had that particular hush of contained tension, the low murmur of attorneys conferring, the rustle of papers, the occasional cough echoing against marble and wood. I sat stiffly in my navy suit, the one I'd worn to conferences and weddings, now pressed into service for my defense. Rachel arrived precisely 5 minutes before the hearing was scheduled to begin. She was dressed immaculately, navy dress, modest heels, hair styled in soft waves, makeup subtle but perfect. She looked like a victim, composed, brave, wounded but strong. Our eyes met briefly across the room. Hers flickered away first. I wondered if that was guilt or just good acting. I sat beside Margaret Sinclair, who wore a sharp gray suit and carried a leather briefcase. She'd reviewed every second of footage, every document, prepared for every contingency. She was ready. So was I. Judge Thomas Brennan, a man in his early 60s with silver hair and piercing eyes, entered the courtroom. The bailiff called for all to rise, and the proceedings began with formal, ritualistic language. "We're here for the preliminary hearing in the matter of Carter versus Carter," the judge began, settling behind the bench. "Ms. Carter, you may present your statement." Rachel stood, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Her voice was soft, fragile, a performance I now recognized with sickening clarity. "Your Honor, I married Daniel because I loved him. I thought we'd build a life together," she began, her voice catching theatrically. "But over the past year, he became controlling, angry. He'd criticize me, belittle me. That night, he came home in a rage. He shoved me against the kitchen counter. I tried to calm him down, but he wouldn't stop. I had to call the police. I was terrified." The judge nodded sympathetically, making a note. "Mr. Carter, do you have a response?" he asked, turning to me. Margaret stood, radiating quiet confidence. "Yes, Your Honor. We have video evidence that completely contradicts Ms. Carter's claims," she stated firmly. Rachel's face paled slightly. "Video?" she whispered, barely audible. "Your Honor," Margaret continued smoothly, "my client installed security cameras in his home 3 weeks before the alleged incident. The footage shows exactly what happened that night." The judge leaned forward, interest sharpening his features. "I'll review it," he said. Margaret handed a USB drive to the bailiff. The courtroom went silent as the footage was loaded onto the large monitor. Rachel's attorney, a young man in his 30s with an expensive haircut and an expression of growing concern, whispered urgently in her ear, too. Late. The video played with devastating clarity. Everyone watched Rachel, alone in the kitchen, injure herself with the wooden spoon. The red marks forming, her calm, calculated demeanor. The phone call, "It's me." The scene is set. "I'm calling 911 now. You come in 10 minutes, arrest him like we planned." The fake 911 call, her trembling voice, her Oscar-worthy fear. And then, in the most damning sequence, Officer Hayes arriving before his partner, embracing Rachel, kissing her before assuming his professional demeanor when Officer Torres pulled up outside, Rachel's face drained of color. Her hands gripped the table. Her lawyer looked physically ill. The judge's expression hardened as he watched the entire sequence without interruption. When it ended, the courtroom remained silent, a collective holding of breath. Judge Brennan turned to Rachel. "Miss Carter, is this you in the video?" he demanded. Rachel opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. I can explain," she stammered. "Did you fabricate these injuries and falsely accuse your husband of domestic abuse?" The judge pressed. Silence stretched between them. "Ms. Carter, answer the question," he ordered, his voice hardening. Rachel's voice finally broke. "Yes," she admitted quietly. The courtroom erupted, gasps, murmurs, the scratch of journalists' pens against notepads. I sat perfectly still, feeling nothing but hollow vindication. The judge banged his gavel. "Order!" he commanded. He leaned forward, voice ice cold. "Who were you speaking to on the phone?" he demanded. Rachel looked down. Tears, real ones this time, streamed down her face. "Officer Brian Hayes. We've been involved. We planned this so I could leave Daniel, get the house, get everything. I thought it would work," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. The judge's voice was steel. "Bailiff, place Ms. Carter under arrest for filing a false police report, conspiracy to commit fraud, and perjury." Two officers approached Rachel. She didn't resist. The handcuffs snapped around her wrists with the same finality they had once secured mine. The judge continued. "Contact Officer Brian Hayes immediately. He's to be arrested and suspended pending investigation." Rachel was led away. She didn't look at me. Her perfect facade was shattered. Mascara running, shoulders shaking, her carefully constructed lie destroyed in minutes of irrefutable evidence. The judge turned to me. "Mr. Carter, all charges against you are dismissed with prejudice. The restraining order is vacated immediately. You have my deepest apologies for what you've endured. You're free to go," he announced. I stood slowly, feeling numb, vindicated but hollow. Margaret touched my shoulder. "It's over," she said softly. I nodded but knew it wasn't true. Some things are never really over. Outside the courtroom, news crews swarmed. Margaret issued a brief statement on my behalf. "Justice was served today. My client is grateful for the court's diligence and looks forward to rebuilding his life." Kevin drove me home in silence. Neither of us knew what to say. What words could possibly encapsulate the betrayal, the vindication, the empty victory? Home. The word had a hollow ring as I walked into the house, my house, for the first time in 3 weeks. It smelled like vanilla candles and lies. Rachel's coffee mug still sat on the counter, lipstick stain on the rim. Her magazines on the coffee table. Her shampoo in the shower. Her presence everywhere, but she was gone, and she was never coming back. I got my house back. My life back. But some things you can't get back. And I'm still figuring out what that means. 12 months later, I still wake up sometimes reaching for someone who isn't there. Muscle memory lasts longer than love, apparently. Rachel Carter and Officer Brian Hayes were both sentenced to 12 years in prison, conspiracy to commit fraud, filing false police reports, perjury, and attempted theft by deception. The judge showed no mercy, making an example of them both. Abuse of power and abuse of trust, he called it during sentencing. Among the most serious betrayals our society can face. The local news covered it extensively. Rachel's mugshot circulated online, her face hollow-eyed and defeated, without the careful makeup that had once been her armor. Officer Hayes was stripped of his badge, his pension, everything. The department issued a formal apology to me. I accepted it without emotion. I divorced Rachel while she awaited trial. She didn't contest anything. The video made her case indefensible. I kept the house, the savings, all assets. Her lawyer didn't even attempt to argue. But the house feels empty now. I walk through rooms where we once laughed, cooked together, planned a future. The kitchen where she'd greet me with a smile. The bedroom where we'd fallen asleep tangled together, her head on my chest, my arm around her shoulders. Now it's just me and the silence. Kevin visits often, bringing takeout and concern poorly disguised as casual conversation. "You doing okay?" he asked last night, watching me pick at my food. I shrugged. "I'm alive." "That's more than I thought I'd be 6 months ago," I responded honestly. "You could sell the place, start fresh somewhere else," he suggested gently. Maybe. I looked around at the walls that had contained so much deception. Or maybe I just need time. One evening last week, a letter arrived, forwarded from the Women's Correctional Facility. Rachel's handwriting on the envelope, slanted and smaller than I remembered, like she herself had diminished inside those walls. I stared at it for a long time, turning it over in my hands, then I threw it in the trash, unopened. I don't need her apologies or explanations. Whatever she has to say doesn't matter anymore. Her words, like her love, were never real. I'm already moving on. Not entirely. I'm not naive enough to think I'm healed. There are scars that may never fade. But I'm working, eating, sleeping, seeing a therapist twice a month, going on occasional dates, though nothing serious yet. Trust comes slowly after betrayal. Tonight I sit on my back porch, beer in hand, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that don't need names. The neighborhood is quiet, except for distant lawnmowers and children's voices. The security cameras still record everything: front door, back door, driveway. I haven't taken them down. I probably never will. They're a reminder now. A reminder that the truth always comes out. That the people you trust most can destroy you, but only if you let them. And Daniel Carter isn't letting anyone destroy him ever again.